Hello and welcome back to Overbooked. It's Amanda and today I'm here to review the book The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. This book was really, first off, it was really amazing, but it was heartbreaking to read. I felt so much sadness and I could feel the loneliness coming off the pages. Also, just a truly eye-opening book. And I've read The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead, and it's just it just shows how great his writing is, and I just really enjoyed this book. Nickel Boys follows the story of a young boy named Elwood, and he is a young black boy growing up in Florida during the 1960s, during the Jim Crow era. And he is extremely smart. He has so many hopes and aspirations for himself. And he spends his time reading, studying. He gets an encyclopedia that he just reads over and over again. He is working part-time at a little tobacco shop after school to raise money for college. And he's just an extraordinary person. He lives with his grandmother alone after his parents leave when he was very little. And his grandmother gives him a set of records that have Martin Luther King Jr. speeches on them, and they're his favorite. He loves listening to King's talk and preach about the civil rights movement and wants to get involved himself. He starts going to little rallies and marches in his town, and he sort of gets close to one of his high school teachers who recommends that he takes college classes his final year of high school. And so on his first day of school, he decides to hitchhike to class, and he gets into the wrong car. He gets into the car that is stolen, and they get pulled over, and the police officer arrests them. And Elwood gets sent to the Nickel Academy. The Nickel Academy is a boys' reform school, which is actually based off of the reform school in Florida called the Dozier, I think it's just called the Dozier Academy or the Dozier School, and it was in existence from 1900 to 2011. I'll circle back to that point at the end of this video. I am just always, the entire time reading this book, I was just awestruck of how, I think one of Elwood's friends describes it perfectly, that Elwood is just sturdy, he just keeps going no matter what comes in front of him, and I was just so awestruck by his sturdiness the entire time, even though he's been dealt a really bad hand of cards and he did nothing wrong. He tries to, not take the best out of the situation, but just try to get through everything. So his first day, he shows up, and I don't know if I would call it optimistic, but he tries to keep telling himself things that he can do while he's here at this school, and there's classes there. It's a school. And so he's like, while I'm here, I can still be taking classes. I won't be falling behind the college classes that I enrolled in. There's this point system, that the boys try to achieve. Once you hit certain points to go to the next tier, and there's 4 tiers. I can't remember what they're called, but when they hit the 4th tier, then they can leave. And he's like, well, I'm just gonna try to keep getting points to behave myself, to do well here, and I'm going to try to get out of here as fast as I can. His sturdiness falters a bit after he tries to break up a fight, what he thinks is a fight, and he gets caught, in the middle of this fight that he's trying to break up, and he gets sent to the ice cream factory or White House, where kids at this school get taken to get beaten up. And I guess beaten up just sounds so not accurate, but they get beat. It's so terrible. And that's when Elwood really realizes the place that he's in. The Nickel Academy is a terrible place for these boys. And it's separated from white and black, but obviously the black boys have it the worst. But there's constant beatings, there's rapes that happen, and just this whole negative atmosphere that these boys are living in constantly, day in and day out at this place. Even the school portion, these classes that Elwood takes, doesn't help him get out of this situation because the classes are for elementary grade level kids. And he goes to the teacher and is like, well, can I get some kind of like advancement? Can I get some other advanced classes? And the teacher's like, absolutely, but then never acts on that, and Elwood is stuck taking these very elementary classes. So throughout the book, we watch Elwood and his group of friends navigate their life at this school and try their best to stay out of trouble and try to get on the path to get out of there. And I think some do it better than others, but also I think it's just, again, like this whole deal with luck and the cards you're dealt with. Like, some of these kids get beaten for nothing. Some of these kids get points taken away for nothing. There's no rhyme or reason to this point system. And some of these kids are just stuck there and they can't get out. And what I really enjoyed was Elwood's like inner thoughts during this time that he's there. And he keeps going back to the records that he played of Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches. And one of them where he talks about, and I'm going to misquote it terribly, but if someone does wrong to you, love them. They throw you in jail, love them. They hit you, love them. And you love your enemy. He keeps struggling with those words while he's in there, which is rightly so. I would never be able to even think about that. I think I would just instantly turn to hate. And I think it's such a good example of Elwood's character, how he continually tries to be like, how can I love these people who, beat me, have me in this place? And it's just such an interesting look at his internal struggle, and I really enjoyed that. The book has a very jumbled timeline, which I really enjoyed. It starts with Elwood in the beginning when he's, before the Nickel Academy, and then it goes to the future, and then it comes back, and then it goes a little bit further in the future, then comes back, and it's really nice, and it makes a lot of sense at the end, and it really ties it all together, and there's a twist at the end. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting something to happen at the end, but it took me off guard, and I was really surprised, and I really enjoyed it. As horrible as a lot of the content in this book is, and how, just heartbreaking it is, I think was a beautiful story, and I think it was something that needs to be read and talked about, and very eye-opening. There's reform schools to this day, and the school that this book is based off was just closed down in 2011. The school that this was based off was the Dozier School in Florida, and I am going to put some links to articles below. I did some deeper diving after reading this, and going through the articles, reading about this school in Florida, it sounds exactly like the Nickel Academy, which, obviously it was Colson Whitehead's intention, but it's so unreal to me that this book of fiction is so close to something that's so real, that it's unfathomable to me that real things like this happened to real boys, children, and it's heartbreaking. So I highly recommend, after you read this book or before you read this book, even if you don't read this book, I think you should take the time to read some of these articles and see what was going on. A lot of these boys are men now, and they haven't received justice or anything from the state of Florida. So I think it's really interesting and, necessary to at least give them your eyes and your ears and listen to their story. Link some articles below that I found really fascinating, and I'm going to try to find, I was at work the other day, obviously working, and I found this one link that took me to some photos of the governor of Florida touring the Dozier School in 1968 or something. And there's not super horrifying pictures. They're not I think they might be a little graphic for some people, so be aware. And I'll put a little warning by the link to that one. But I love looking at pictures from history. One of my favorite parts of giving my history textbooks was looking at the pictures. So if you're a weird picture person like me, I'm going to put that in the description below. I'm also going to put in 2 links to other booktubers who did reviews on this book. I think they did a really excellent job of reviewing it, and I think that you should take the time to watch their reviews as well. And with that, I think I'm done. I really enjoyed the Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. I think it was an excellent book. It was great to read. It was eye-opening, heartbreaking, sad, and just really like just amazing writing all in one little book. And I highly suggest that if you haven't read it already, to go to your local library or your local bookstore and pick it up and read it for yourself. If you have read it or you plan to read it or have heard anything about it, please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys next time.